Hey y'all, what's up? I hope you're well. My name is Patricia, your born and raised small town girl, here to remind you that the unthinkable can happen anywhere. Welcome back, guys, and if you are here for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad you are here. Today, we are diving into the second case in the series about young women who have disappeared near Route 29 in Virginia. Last week, we covered the heartbreaking murder of Alexis Murphy. This week, we are talking about the disappearance of Samantha Clarke from Orange, Virginia, a case that is eerily connected. Orange is about 65 miles from Shipman, where Alexis was from, and as you will hear, there are definite ties between the two cases. That's a big part of why I chose Samantha's case to cover next, because the overlap here makes people wonder, is there something bigger going on along the 29 corridor? Real quick, I want to give a shout out to the podcast And Then They Were Gone. I listened to their episode on Samantha during my research, and it was super informative. Their episode was over an hour long with some great discussion between the hosts. Go check them out if you want to have a deeper dive into Samantha's story. So, Orange, Virginia, a small town in Orange County. As you can tell if you've been listening, we love our town and county combos in Virginia. We've done cases from George Draft in Augusta County, Shipman in Nelson County, and now Orange in Orange County. Orange is about 28 miles from Charlottesville, Virginia, right along the Route 29 corridor. With a population of a little over 5,000, it's the kind of quiet, historic Civil War town where not much happens, until something like today's case happens and shakes up everything. Samantha Clarke was born in Orange on July 17, 1991, to her mom, Barbara. I couldn't find any info about her father. His name never came up in the research, and it seems he wasn't involved when Samantha went missing. Barbara was only 16 at the time of Samantha's birth, and as a former teen mother myself, I know how hard that is. Barbara dropped out of school and moved in with Samantha's dad, who was 30. To be honest, I have feelings about that age gap that screams predatory behavior to me. But back in the 90s, it wasn't shamed in the way it is today. It should have been, but it wasn't, unfortunately. The relationship between the two of them only lasted a few years. That is when Samantha's father moved to Chesapeake, Virginia, and took Samantha with him. I couldn't find info on how often she saw her mom during that time or what the visitation situation was like, but when Samantha was 12, she moved back to Orange. She didn't move directly in with her mother. Rather, she stayed with her mother's sister, Brenda Rhodes, for a few years before then moving in with her mother and her younger brother, Hunter. On the night of September 13th, 2010, Barbara left home for her overnight shift like she normally did. She told Samantha she loved her, and Samantha told her she loved her too and would see her tomorrow. When Barbara left, Samantha was in her PJs watching TV. Around 12:30 a.m., 12-year-old Hunter called their mom's cell phone while she was working. She was unable to answer at that time but called him back around 1 a.m. That's when Hunter told her that Samantha had left. Now, it's unclear whether Samantha was supposed to be watching Hunter or if he was okay to be left home alone, but what was clear was that Barbara was worried. This wasn't like Samantha. She didn't like being outside after dark. Still, Barbara tried not to panic. Maybe Samantha had just stepped out with one of the guys that she had recently been hanging out with. But when Barbara got home a little after 7 a.m. and found Samantha's PJs neatly folded on her bed with no sign of her, that's when the panic started. This was weird. Samantha usually let someone know where she was going. Maybe since she was 19, she was trying to spread her wings a little more. So Barbara took Hunter to school and came back home to take a nap, hoping Samantha would be home when she woke up. It's important to note that this was 2010, so everyone didn't have a cell phone then like they do now. Samantha didn't have a cell phone or a car, and in a small town like Orange, there's no public transportation, especially not in the middle of the night. And of course, things like Uber and Lyft didn't exist yet. Unfortunately, when Barbara woke up, Samantha was still not home. So she started contacting friends and family. No one had seen or heard from Samantha. That's when Barbara knew something was seriously wrong. Barbara went directly to the Orange County Sheriff's Office to report Samantha missing, but they told her that she had to wait 48 hours because Samantha was an adult. This infuriates me so much because that is not true. It wasn't true then and it's not true now. By federal law, every police department is required to take a missing person report without delay. And if you are, God forbid, ever in a situation like this, don't you let them tell you that you have to wait. I cannot imagine being Barbara at that moment. I would probably crash all the way out right there in the sheriff's office. But Barbara didn't. She kept her composure. I applaud her for that, because let me tell you, they would take my report. I would be very forceful. Barbara decided she wasn't going to wait for the sheriff to do something. Her and her sister Brenda began driving around the area, putting up flyers and asking around, hoping they would come across Samantha or someone who knew where Samantha was. Barbara said, quote, "It's my daughter. I can't just sit here. I feel useless if I can't do something. And I wouldn't be able to just sit there either. That would be pure torture." Sadly, there was no sign of Samantha. No one had seen her. So on August 15th, 2010, Barbara reported her missing to the Orange Police Department, which is a different police station than the Orange County Sheriff that she had tried to report Samantha to in the first place. Orange PD took the case on immediately and sent out a statewide bulletin regarding Samantha. Chief James Fenwick of Orange County PD said, quote, "She always lets someone know where she's going, but since there's been no contact, that's why we've deemed it suspicious," end quote. Police say there was no indication that she took any clothing or identification with her to be away for any significant amount of time. It is unknown what she was wearing at the time of her disappearance. Also unknown what kind of vehicle that she left in. The investigation began with police retracing what Samantha had done the last few days before her disappearance. Barbara told police that she and Samantha had gone to a bar called North Side Restaurant on Friday, September 11th, after attending an Orange football game. At the bar, Samantha began talking to two young guys around her age. Her mom said they were all seemingly having a good time. Everything seemed fine and it was a typical night. Then an older man who seemed to be in his 40s joined the group. That man was Randy Taylor. Yes, that Randy Taylor. Now, in 2010, no one knew yet what horrors Taylor was capable of. So at the time, it just seemed like an older guy hanging out with younger people, which, let's be real, is kind of weird. But by the end of the night, Samantha had hit it off with one of the guys, and he ended up going home with her. I tried to find info on these two guys and couldn't find a thing. Their identities must have never been released to the public. However, by Saturday night, Samantha was hanging out with the other young man from the bar. According to Barbara, he had called Samantha and asked her if she wanted to go on a repo run with him. Apparently, this repo run was being done by Randy Taylor, and the young guy was helping him. Samantha decided to go along and ended up staying the night with the second guy. But the weird part is that these two young guys were roommates. I'm not sure if Samantha knew it or not, but the second guy had a girlfriend. And when she found out, she began threatening to beat Samantha's ass. So by Sunday evening, everything had become a mess with Samantha and her new guy friends. Samantha was clearly upset, and her MySpace post reflected that leading up to her disappearance. She wrote, quote, "I hate life. I need help. I don't know what to do. I can't stop hurting, crying, or being stupid. Someone please talk to me and calm me down. I don't know what to do," end quote. And a few days before that, she posted, quote, "Damn, I hope that everything works out. If I am what I think I am for real, I don't know what to do. It's scary and confusing," end quote. Could these mean she had thought maybe she was pregnant, or that she thought she was maybe in love with one of these guys? Or could she feel like she had to choose between the two of them? I mean, they hadn't been hanging out that long, but it seems like she had some turmoil in her head over what was going on. Then there's this. Phone records showed that Randy Taylor called Samantha 6 times the night she disappeared. And we all know what this man is capable of. His excuse was that he was trying to warn her that the second guy's girlfriend was threatening to come after her, and that he had heard the guy say he was going to help his girlfriend. He claims he wanted to let Samantha know she needed to stay away from them. Police weren't buying it, and I'm not buying it either. I truly believe that he coaxed her out of that house, but there's no proof of that. Especially when looking into Taylor's criminal history, they found his criminal record began in 1992 with a burglary conviction, followed by several charges throughout the years that included assault, stalking, arson, and brandishing a firearm. A GPS tracking device was put on Taylor's vehicle as a part of their investigation into Samantha's disappearance, but months passed with no new info. So the police decided to push the issue and pull Taylor over. He was arrested and charged with being a felon in possession of a firearm. However, a judge later ruled it was a warrantless search and seizure and dropped the charges. So investigators were left with all the suspicion and no evidence. They didn't focus all of their energy on Taylor, though. They looked into other possibilities such as Jesse Matthew. I mentioned him in the last episode. We will be talking about him next week. When they did check into him, they found zero connections between Matthew and Samantha. I couldn't find much about it, but my understanding is police also looked into the guy that she stayed with Saturday night and his girlfriend, but couldn't find anything connecting them either. As we know, there doesn't always have to be a connection for something terrible to happen, but investigators felt like the 6 phone calls and the way Taylor acted made him the main suspect. In 2011, from February to April, there were several searches of Green Lake conducted by Orange Police, Orange County Sheriff, and Greene County Sheriff. Green Lake is a private lake in Greene County. Chief Fenwick wouldn't tell the public why they searched the area or what they found, but he did confirm that the searches were in relation to Samantha's case. It later came out that Barbara had contacted the guy from Saturday night and that he and his girlfriend showed her where Taylor lived at the time. Turns out he lived in a camper near Green River. Sound familiar? Really, it is so hard to tell how many times Taylor has done the same exact thing. I truly believe this man is a serial killer and has more victims that are still unknown at this time. In 2012, Taylor gave an interview to the now-defunct news website The Hook. He claimed that when he called Samantha one of the times he heard another man in the background and she told him that she had to go. He went on to say that Samantha couldn't call him because her home phone didn't have long-distance calling, so he had to keep calling her back for them to talk. And of course, he played the victim, alleging police had harassed him so much that he ended up losing his job, his home, and even custody of his son. He also insisted that the police planted evidence, just as he did in the Alexis Murphy case. It seemed like the search for Samantha had gone completely cold until the disappearance of Alexis Murphy in 2013. When Randy Taylor was named as a suspect in Alexis's disappearance, it came to the surface that he was the last person to talk to Samantha, who still had not been heard from or seen in 3 years. CBS 6 crime expert Steve Neal said, quote, "Law enforcement are definitely linking the cases, which is wise. There's no doubt in my mind that the case in Orange and Nelson County are linked, and there's likely others." On November 16, 2014, over 150 volunteers and members of law enforcement worked their way through wilderness terrain in the Ehart area of Orange County. They were searching for any sign of both Samantha and Alexis. They searched over 200 acres with trained dogs and horses. Alexis's aunt, Trina Murphy, said, quote, "The fact that we have to look for 2 beautiful young women on the same piece of property is heartbreaking," end quote. Unfortunately, there was no sign of either of them, and sadly, there was no more developments in Samantha's case until January 15, 2021, when authorities reclassified Samantha's case as a homicide based on evidence and forensic advances. Chief Fenwick said, quote, "Digging for clues, talking to people, that hasn't changed. What has changed is the technology," end quote. They even brought back the original detective who had retired in 2015. He is now working part-time solely on Samantha's case. To this day, no more info has been released to the public, but it seems the investigators are not giving up. Samantha's mom said, quote, "I miss her smiles, her laugh, the funny things she would say to make me laugh. She's a happy girl. She would always stay happy, and if you were sad, she'd find a way to make you happy," end quote. Samantha was 19 years old, 5'4", and 145 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. She wears glasses and has a pink Playboy bunny tattoo on her right arm, a Tigger tattoo on her right ankle, and 2 dolphin tattoos on her lower back. I will post pics of Samantha and her tattoos on my socials. If you have any info, please contact the Orange Police Department at 540-672-1491. What do you guys think? Do you think Randy Taylor is responsible for the disappearance of Samantha, or do you think it has something to do with the guy and his girlfriend? I personally think Taylor is definitely involved in Samantha's disappearance, but I do still question if he did it alone. Could it be Randy is luring the victims for himself and a partner or partners? We have seen it before where serial killers work together. Next week, we will be sharing about Morgan Dana Harrington's story, and this will be when we bring in Jesse Matthew into the mix, yet another piece of shit human. I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please subscribe so you will be notified when new episodes drop. Also, please give your girl a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's at This Doesn't Happen Here on Instagram and Facebook, and at This Doesn't Happen on TikTok. Until next time, remember, pure evil doesn't have city limits, and this does, in fact, happen here.